help. I was going through the crap in the smeltery, and I noticed that we have molten sugar. I was trying to figure out what we could do with it. Well, one of the things we can do with it is we can mix it with gelatin to get marshmallows. And with marshmallows, you can make s'mores. I made the mistake of letting Mindman know that this was a thing, and now... Yep. So now we have another fucking factory to build. So the way you get gelatin is you melt down gelatin sheets, which you can get from either bits of pork or fish. When Mindman suggested we start making a s'mores factory, I pointed out the obvious piece we're missing here is a pig farm or a fish farm. And then I remembered industrial foregoing has a thing that will automatically fish. And all it needs is a 3x3 pool of water. And the result of which is... we have a lot of fish. When I investigated further, I saw that our ME system was starting to fill up. And upon further investigation, I discovered the reason. We are fishing a bunch of junk. We are fishing a rather alarmingly large amount of junk. So all these almost dead fishing rods, and these almost dead boots, and almost dead bows, and, yep, that's junk from fishing. That's random junk that you get when you fish. In addition to fish you get when you fish. Anyway, first instinct is to set up a exporter to just dump all this shit into lava. Problem is, there are useful enchants on these things. And we can extract them with the enchantment extractor. So one of the things that we need to make the enchantment extractor is books. And one of the things we need to extract enchantments is books. So we're going to teach the system this as well. So, plunk. Now, let's suppose we want to extract an enchantment from something. The way this works is, you stick some books in, and you stick the thing you want to enchant in, and you get an enchanted book. So now we have, for free, 2 unbreaking books. We can also take books like this, that have multiple enchants, and we can use the extractor to separate them. I believe. Yes. Yes, we can. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to make some unbreaking enchantment books. What unbreaking does is, basically it causes your tool to wear out more slowly. Another little trick you can use here. If I drop this thing in, you'll see it's a 2-step process. It extracts the first enchantment, and then leaves the item in the processing slot, and waits a few seconds, and then extracts the second enchant. I don't care about the second enchant, so I pulled it out as soon as I got the unbreaking one I wanted. That was terribly explained. Let's shovel this all back. Search for the thing that was already in the search bar. And now I've got 8 Unbreaking 3 books. Let's also grab some protection books. There's a few protection 4s, but mostly I'm just seeing 3s at best. Alright, so I've got 2 protection 4 books. I've got 12 protection 3 books, which I can combine into protection 4 books. Now, of course, we need XP, which we've got in tanks that we've offloaded. Just for shits and giggles, we're gonna use the anvil room to do our books. So to get the liquid XP out of the tanks, just right-click with an empty hand. Slorp. So, protection 3 plus protection 3 equals protection 4. 3 and 3 is 4. 3 and 3 is 4. That math does not work out at all. Now, let's take our unbreaking 3s, and let's combine those into protection plus unbreaking. Now, the last thing I want to do, turns out we've got some mending books. What mending does, see if we have enough XP left to combine these. Let's combine the protection, the unbreaking, and the mending into one book. Now, let's take some of our armor. Let's take our helmet. Let's enchant our helmet with this. Ooh, we don't have enough. It's too expensive. Welp. Well, tell you what. Nice. Smack dead. Smack dead. Smack dead. Nice thing about this is the blazes will do very little damage thanks to the Pyroclast pendant. Ow. And we have enough. Well, let's try this again. If I can stop getting lost in a, well, not quite so empty anymore basement. We have an obsidian helmet with protection 4 and breaking 3 and mending. Now what mending does is, you can repair it by picking up XP. I have XP, but that won't repair it. You have to actually pick up the XP balls. Thankfully, there's a handy little thing that will generate XP balls. Let's put the tank here. Put the pressure plate here. No, put the pressure plate here. And put the shower here. So now, step on the pressure plate, or otherwise give the shower a redstone signal. That will drop XP balls. Just for demonstrative purposes. Durability here is 492. So I hold on to this and shower myself with a bit of XP. Durability's gone up a bit. In fact, if I have enough XP and use enough XP, you can totally recharge a damaged piece of armor with mending. So anyway, point is, I made a total of 8 of these, so we can enchant the entirety of both mine and Mineman's obsidian armor. So, I've made a bit of changes to the chocolate factory since I last, since my last video. Previously, we were just dumping cocoa nibs into this chest, and we were just dumping sugar into this melter, and just shoveling the maximum possible into the system, and seeing what popped out. I've adjusted things slightly. Now instead of that, we just have an interface here that says that 2 ground cocoa nibs and 1 sugar equals 2 milk chocolate. So now, instead of just dumping all of the cocoa nibs and sugar in, and have it automatically try to craft from it, we can just craft them individually. The main changes we made is, this sorter used to be we were just pulling out cocoa nibs and turning on round robin, so it would just send half of them to this machine and half to this machine. That part hasn't changed, but now, this is also taking the sugar and sending it to this melter. The way that sorting works is, if you ever played with the Red Power 2 sorting machine back in the day, this is a bit similar. Basically, it pulls out cocoa nibs and tags them with the color dark blue, and it pulls out sugar and tags it with the color dark green. And here you can see we've colored these pipes so that green can't go through blue and blue can't go through green. That controls where the items go. And the way you set the colors on the pipe is you just shift right click with the configurator. Other than that, pipeline's pretty much the same. I'm sick of falling in this puddle, so I'm going to cover it with something. And I'm going to cover it with the thing that we have the most of, which is iron, apparently. Yes, one thing I've done is I've set up a sub-basement, mainly in case we needed to access some of this underfloor wiring like this. I love the time in a bottle. I'm really sick of these noisy animals, so the pigs have escaped. So I'm setting him free. I'm missing a melter. Did I forget to craft a second one? And that totally sounds like what I would do. So the basic idea is, we're going to have a melter melting gelatin, and then sending it into a mixer, which will mix it with water, and then send it to another mixer, which will mix that with sugar coming from a melter, which is still crafting. And this is going to need power, so... Now, one of these mixers needs water. So let's create a water channel here. Let's connect it with the water channel elsewhere in the network. Now, are you all getting power? Yes, 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 and yes. Okay. Now, the basic idea is you put 2 gelatin in here, and it melts. And you put 1 sugar in here, and it melts. Now, this mixer needs water. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to name the connector connected to it. That connector now has a name, which means it will be easier to find it over in the controller. Yes, if I hover over this one, it gives me the name of the connector. So this one needs water. So let's pump water into it. So we're now mixing the hydrated gelatin with the sugar. And we have marshmallow. Technically, we could reuse this ingot former. And in the name of laziness, I'm going to do that. And we have marshmallow. We have marshmallow sign. Alright, now the only thing we need is a slig. And a sorter. And a turf. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Slig here. Actually, let's put the slig here. Let's put the sorter here. And I need the logistical pipes. Okay. So what's going to happen is, sorter It's going to take gelatin and tag it blue. It's going to take sugar, tag it green. So the gelatin we want to go here. So we'll make you blue. And the sugar we want it here, so we'll make you green. So if I put 2 gelatins and a sugar in there, goes exactly where it needs to. Gelatin goes in here, mixed with water to become hydrated gelatin. This melts sugar, mix those together, we get marshmallow. Marshmallow gets turned into marshmallows. So let's make ourselves a recipe that says 2 gelatin plus 1 sugar equals 2 marshmallows. Should be able to just order up a marshmallow. One thing we haven't done is teach the system how to make gelatin. Let's make a recipe that tells it can make gelatin from fish. And it's done using the manufactory, so we'll put it in there. So we should be able to just order up a marshmallow, and it'll make the gelatin as well. Now the last thing we need to make s'mores is graham crackers. That we need a thing called a pressurizer, which I've made. And let's get an interface to plug it into. Plonk. Now the other thing we need is some form of flour. And this is probably the simplest one. From this, we should be able to just order up a graham cracker. And there it is. Excellent. And finally, putting all of it together, we have everything we need, except we need to make one more graham cracker. Your head. So, we're gonna set up a system to automatically craft s'mores, but not just constantly spam the system with them. Just make a set amount. So the way we're going to do that is, we're going to take an ME level emitter, what this level emitter does is, it emits a redstone signal depending on what's in the system, and we can program it to emit a level depending on how much of a certain item we're in it. So what we're going to do is, we're going to tell it to emit a redstone signal when there are less than 16 s'mores. Since there are currently less than 16 s'mores, it's turning on a redstone signal. Now what we'll do is we'll take an export bus, and we'll just stick it on this hopper, which is just going to send stuff into the ME interface, and therefore into the ME system. And we're going to put 2 things on the export bus. We're going to put a crafting card, and we're going to put a crafting card in, which will allow it to automatically craft things that it wants to export, and a redstone card, which lets you turn it on and off with redstone. First, we're going to set it up to only be active when there's a signal, and we're going to set it to only craft items. Because if you leave it at the default, which is to try to export stored or craft items, it's just going to infinitely extract the item out of the ME system and then back into the ME system. So now, this is sending a redstone signal saying we don't have enough s'mores, which is activating this export bus, which is going to cause it to start crafting s'mores. You can see here, I've already set up a similar one for milk chocolate. I'd set up a similar one for PBJ and sandwiches, but I think we've got about a lifetime supply of them right now. Well, I've discovered a thing. Applied Logistics has a thing called a color applicator. It's basically that lets you paint cables. And the way it works is, you make paintballs, which you get by putting garbage into a matter condenser. So I just got a cobblestone generator, dumping cobble into here, making paintballs. And then, you mix the paintballs with dye, get colored paintballs. And then, you take an ME chest, which is basically a thing that lets you read ME cells individually. Click on the side, put the color applicator in, click on the top, put the paintballs in. And now, shift scroll and select the color you want. So I can go through, theoretically, and just paint a whole line of cables. And I think what I'm going to do is, I think I want to paint individual cable runs going from the controller to various places. So I don't have enough matter balls saved up yet to fully paint the runs. But I think I want the various runs going from the controller out to the various places painted a given color. So brown to Machine Monster 1, blue to the crafting banks, purple to Machine Monster 2, and so on. And there may be a different set of colors for the local use. So I come up with a bit of a system to deal with all these bows we're fishing up. So I've got an export bus. It's exporting bows with a fuzzy card configured to export anything, which it'll export any bow into the chest below it. It's also got a capacity card so I can put more filters in here, but that's a minor detail. And then I've got a junk channel on the XNet system. It is pulling stuff out of the chest, and it is inserting into a trash chest. And it is configured to send bows into the trash chest. It's configured to match NBT data, which means the NBT data has to match this bow, which means it has to have no NBT data. But it ignores metadata, so it ignores damages. So the upshot of that is, unenchanted bows goes into the chest, where they get destroyed. It's also inserting into the enchantment extractor. So basically anything enchanted goes into here first, and gets disenchanted. And then when it's done, the enchantment and the bow get sent back into the ME system, where it'll eventually get destroyed through this mechanism. You've also got an export bus auto-crafting books for the enchantment extractor. I'm going to do the same thing with fishing rods, because we're getting a lot of spam of those too. So, I've created a tree farm. Here in the ground we have a plant sower, which basically plants things as you give it, and it will plant it into this spot here. So I've set it up to accept oak saplings. So, if it gets an oak sapling, plants it. And then here we have a plant gatherer, which, when given something can be harvested, harvests it. So when this tree grows, this will harvest the wood. Now I've set up the system so that oak saplings will be taken out of here and put into the sower to be planted for more trees. And the logs, and I assume apples that come out, will go into the ME system. And we've got a few oaks. So I had a thought. was considering getting rid of setting the system to dump all these leather boots. And I realized I can put them in a sawmill to reclaim some of the leather. So let's do that instead. Plonk a sawmill. Let's go to our junk channel. And let's insert boots into it. Unenchanted boots will get sent into the sawmill. And there it goes. Program the system to start exporting leather boots. And now we have a leather farm as well. If you get junk when you fish, is it called junking? There was not a coherent thought there.